Hello, everyone, and good morning. Thank you for joining. We have a great presentation put together for you today. My name is Misha Lalou, and I am the marketing specialist for DynaEnergetics. I will be the host for today's webinar. Our panelist today is Gernot Burmeister. Gernot is our Vice President of Sales here at DynaEnergetics. Gernot, thank you for being on the call with us today.
Absolutely.
A few comments before we get started. Over the coming months, we will be hosting these webinar series to discuss our systems, technology, and to introduce some of our new products. So we're excited to have you all here today for our very first one. A quick outline for today's call. We will be discussing a bit about DynaEnergetics' background, and the topics we will be focusing on are all centered around safety, supply chain, length optimization. We'll talk about remote operations, and lastly, we'll touch on the DynaStage product family. Throughout the call, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat function located at the bottom of your screen. We will be monitoring all the questions, and we will be answering them at the end of the call. So like I mentioned, we have a lot of great topics we'll be covering, so we're going to jump right into it with our first question. Back in 2015, DynaEnergetics really shook up the industry by introducing the first ever fully factory assembled gun. At the time, most perforating companies were operating strictly as component businesses. So when we created DynaStage, we brought about a shift that really changed the landscape of the perforating industry. Today, we now see the business split into three categories. We see factory assembled, we see pre-wired, and still a lot of component driven. So Gernot, can you just give us some more background on what our vision was when developing fully factory assembled guns? Maybe touch on how our approach is different to others, and then elaborate on what we mean when we say the phrase factory assembled, performance assured.
Absolutely, and thank you, Misha. We began with a vision and asked ourselves, how can we improve the performance and efficiencies in the perforating market today? 85% of the reported issues were associated with electrical and hardware connection, specifically pointed towards crimped wires and poor plug issues. We also wish to design something from the ground up, starting with a blank canvas, and could it be something we can consider to be a system level solution? DynaEnergetics manufactures all the critical components in-house, most critical being the detonator, so our first thought was to wrap something around that technology, with the ultimate goal to increase efficiency, reduce misruns, and lower the NPT. So our approach was very different to others. Component-wise, we did not take the available components in the industry and assemble them together. For example, our IS-2 TF detonator is completely different in design and execution with no wires. Manufacturing-wise, we also wish to adopt a new industry philosophy, factory assembled, performance assured. The factory assembly piece really equates to quality. It represents the efficient, reliable, repeatable assembly of quality assured components coming to the assembly line. Performance assured piece drills down more into that component level. Each component is engineered and designed and manufactured in-house. It allows us full control of the quality, the performance, even the enhancements. Industry conventional components are made to work, while we look at it as performance assured components are designed and engineered to work together as an optimum system. So the results are a highly reliable, repeatable completions product. So in 2015, I believe it's the first time the industry has seen a fully assembled, system-level engineered solution delivered to our customer.
Thank you for that background. I think that information and insight will be helpful to our audience as we dive further into our questions and we talk further about our products and our technology. So being a company that deals with explosives, our main priority for customers and for employees is, of course, safety. All of our products are intrinsically safe. This is a term that we have actually trademarked and a term that we use a lot when we're talking to customers, when we're explaining our technology. Can you talk about what that phrase means, intrinsically safe, and why this feature of our products is so important?
Sure. In short, intrinsically safe means inherent to the design and engineering of the product itself. Should that product fail while in a hazardous environment, the product will fail in a safe manner in the environment and to the users. Intrinsically safe equipment is essential in the safe operation in Class 1, Division 1, and Class 2, Division 2 locations. Oil and gas well sites fall under these guidelines, and they include a multiple of protocols and safe distance requirements. And our IS-2 TF plug-and-go detonator is really a front runner in this safety philosophy. It's deployed in our growing portfolio in all of our DynaStage products, which we'll mention here towards the end. Some of the key features you can see here on the screen. It uses an integrated switch detonator with an overmolded contact piece, or not a separate switch detonator combination. Key to the safe operation is the elimination of wires. So you see no wires that need to be crimped or damaged. This was key actually to improving the 85% attributable failures I mentioned here earlier. And inside the detonator, the PC board allows in its design for intrinsic safety to be used in some of the most hazardous environments. So the whole line is designed around this detonator. And we believe that our customer has a true marked advantage to be operating in some of the most limited RF exclusion zones and unexpected remote locations by utilizing the product.
Thank you for that explanation. Like I mentioned, it is a phrase that we use a lot, that we say a lot. So thank you for helping us understand that meaning. Our next topic also relates to a phrase that I think a lot of us have heard over and over again these last few months, social distancing. As we know, the perforating gun supply chain has many touch points. These last few months, of course, a big concern is how to practice social distancing, how to reduce our interactions with others, and still somehow maintain business as normal. Can you talk a little bit about how the DynaStage system reduces these touch points and simplifies the supply chain for a wireline operator?
Yes, absolutely. There's a multitude of touch points that, as you mentioned, are especially sensitive for us today. You can see from the slide here, purchasing has a lot of touch points in terms of charges, carriers, switch detonators, bulkheads. And there's also the aspect, do they all fit together, and multiple suppliers. You see transportation, identified by some of these yellow lines here, but a tremendous amount of transportation to the shop and from the shop, receiving at a shop, ATF, loading and unloading, quality controls, assembly steps. I mean, there are a tremendous amount of storage, logistic, and housekeeping, everything that is impacted, while still behind the scenes, paperwork and supporting resources. So while some of these efforts can be consolidated using other solutions, many of these components still need to be purchased. So on the top of the slide, you see a headquarters to DynaEnergetics to location description there, or rendering. This line of DynaStage products really simplifies the process by drastically reducing all of these touch points, the complexity, and in turn, the costs associated with them. Infrastructure is reduced by shops and trucks, trailers, shipping, handling, transportation, and really, you can optimize your resources too in light of this. So delivering the factory assembly system can lower the expenses, but it'll keep the quality. Is critical at every step. And then again, the performance assured piece reduces the misruns, and again, elevates this operational efficiency that we see here on the screen.
I really like that image that you shared. It really helps you visualize that supply chain process. I think a lot of the points that you just made kind of tie into this next topic, so it's a good one to follow. Can you talk to the common concerns service companies have when conducting perforating operations in remote locations, and just help us understand how the DynaStage system can alleviate some of those concerns?
It is especially effective in remote locations. It's a great topic and very significant in our market today. Safe transportation, longer distance traveling, going across state lines. We have very safe restrictions right now on the hours of duty and freight and trucking regulations that were implemented in 2019 and 20. There's operational infrastructure support that many times are not nearby these remote locations. So much so that we find some of our customers might turn down jobs because of the distance and the ability to support that location. Explosive weight restrictions from transportation, multiple trips. These are all very expensive parts of operating in a remote site. And ultimately, in 2019 and 20, we did see a very significant change in PHMSA and DOT regulations, where no more interrupts were allowed on location or in transport. So we are looking at very skilled labor and support groups on location, capping detonators and detonating cord. So the solution really is an operational and logistic efforts streamlining as the carriers are shipped to location, unarmed, third party, explosive certified handler, and a freight provider. Obviously, the IS-2 top fire detonator is shipped separately, requiring no crimping and no wires on location. We're not really handling the extensiveness of these explosives. So arming at the well site is thus very simple. You unpack and push the detonator inside the load side of the carrier. We've talked about it in many ways. It's like installing batteries in a flashlight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that comparison that you gave out, the ease of arming a gun versus the putting batteries in a flashlight. It really just reiterates how simple it really is. Before we get into our next question, I just want to remind everyone that if you do have a question throughout the presentation, please submit it at any time through the chat function. Again, that's located at the bottom of your screen, and we will be getting to as many questions as possible towards the end. So we do get a lot of questions about our next topic, which is focused on the length of perforating guns. Can you explain more on why operators are concerned with the length of perforating guns and provide some insight on how shorter guns add perforating flexibility and allow creativity in completion design?
Yes, length optimization is critical when we speak to true carrier shot density. 3 shots in a carrier versus 6, and not a downloaded carrier. So our system is true length optimized for 3 or 4 or 5 shots in a carrier. So making it as short as possible. The typical sub hardware can measure upwards of 5 to 6 inches in additional length with the port plugs. You see this in the pictured upper left-hand side. You see a more of a conventional style system with port plugs. The DynaStage portfolio features roughly a 1/2 inch sub, if you will, on the Deus system, and on the Inline System, a 1 inch orientating sub. You see how much shorter a 3-gun system can be in the picture on the upper left-hand side. On the bottom right, you see a gentleman standing in front of what is a Deus system next to a Trinity system. So you can see how remarkably shorter these systems can become. Pre-wired systems have moved the switch detonator to the gun. It has reduced the overall length somewhat in the assembly, but in many cases we just see a shorter sub but a longer carrier. So net savings, but little net savings. And regulations restricting the arming of carriers, as mentioned before, do result in personnel being on location, either pulling the carrier internals out of the gun or opening up port plugs or accessing, some of the internals. Whereas in our system, just pushing in the detonator. So we talk about, why is this important? Obviously, there's an HSE handling piece where we're concerned about weight, manipulating of these longer gun strings. Ours are 25 to 35% shorter. So all this translates to a performance and fatigue. A lot of our customers come back talking about fatigue in these locations, it improves their performance. We do have limited space on location and keep out area restrictions. So length optimization does translate to a more safe operation for everyone. Design-wise, for a lot of the completion engineers, the shorter guns do allow for more creative completions. We have more guns per stage, tighter perforating clusters, and a more even distribution of holes per stage as well. High gun count completions. The reduced length is key to the downhole friction, being able to reach some of these longer laterals. And existing equipment restrictions as well. You want to use the existing equipment, not incur additional cost on cranes, lubricators, etc. So we see the shorter guns have a significant advantage, in a couple of different areas.
Thank you for that answer. So this next topic, we did kind of touch on it earlier in the call, but I think it is a really important one, so I wanted to circle back to it. It's on how we see the industry split into those kind of three categories of fully assembled, pre-wired, and components. What would you say are the manufacturing and operational advantages of taking a system approach to purchasing a perforating gun instead of buying and assembling components?
There's definitely an advantage on the system level performance. I mean, we spoke earlier about reducing the complexity, the intensity of the labor and the specialized training requirements. DynaEnergetics' primary business is to engineer and provide perforating systems, strong core competency we provide to our customers. We do manufacture in an ISO 9001 compliant facility, which focuses on assembling and testing of all the guns, for maximum reliability. And we feel we can help reduce the cost of managing the infrastructure required for a dedicated assembly facility. As you can see in the slide, a lot of components on the right-hand side in the conventional system. Another advantage looks at the resources. Optimizing resources during these difficult times is key to our customers' operations. That's both at the shop and on location. On-site personnel can be streamlined on location, improving a service company's bottom line. We also some of our customers look at reducing SG&A as a key component surviving these current market conditions. And yet, everybody is still on this high level of repeatability, high level of quality. So we have to keep that in mind. System level safety. We talked about reducing HSE risks. I would like to touch on the in-house design manufactured components beyond just the carrier of the firing panel, the firmware, the software. We have a compliant tester. All of this complete system is geared towards a more safe and effective operation, and still while elevating the performance for our customer. Operational and infrastructure complexity. We talked about the long list of supply chain and transportation, all translating into cost. But in the end, it allows our customer to increase their focus on the service performance, the crews, the scheduling, and ultimately their customers, what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. So throughout this call, you've mentioned some of our products such as Deus Infinity and Deus Trinity. A couple of years ago, we only had the DynaStage gun, and to keep up with current demands and certain customer needs, we have expanded that product into a suite of product offerings. Three of our most popular products, or maybe commonly known products, of the DynaStage family are the Deus Infinity, Deus Trinity, and Deus Inline. Can you give us a quick explanation on the differences between each of these products and maybe give us a sneak peek on what's to come later this year?
Absolutely. So all of our DynaStage portfolio of products contain the IS2 top-fire intrinsically safe plug-and-go detonator. In the picture here, you kind of see the receiving end of the three different product lines. That's the location where you push in the detonator. Again, no port plugs. None of these have wires, detonators with wires. They're fully assembled, fully disposable. In our facility, they're 100% quality assurance tested. Each one is serialized for traceability purposes and can all be delivered to location. So specifically, as you look at the center picture, that's our Deus Infinity product. It takes the traditional approach. It is shot count length optimized. It's highly configurable in terms of density, phasings, diameters, from 3 1/8 to 3 3/8. And it is very configurable in terms of our formation-tuned shape charge, including the frac-tuned equal entry hole. We have a DPEX reactive liner, charge as well, and then the halo frac charge, which is our equal entry hole pre-frac performance charge. To the right, on the right side, it's our DS Trinity 3.5-inch system. You see it in a 3-shot single plane configuration. It's a subless design, so you have fewer O-rings, and it's also the shortest system we have available at 7 inches. Again, no sub included, the 7-inch gun complete. So to the left, you see our DS Inline System. It features the DS Infinity system with an orientating locking sub. It's kind of even hard to see in the picture because it's only 1 inch wide versus a normal 6-inch wide sub, and so tremendous length savings for an orientating solution. The alignment sub we see there centered in the middle of that gun string eliminates the need for orientating weight bars. So another neat feature of the product line. Looking forward, we have our DS Echo system here coming this month, or next month I should say, available in a 2.5 and 2 3/4 inch system. It's a purpose-designed system featuring a new equal entry hole shape charge that is specifically designed for the refrac market and dual casing applications. We also have a DS Liberator tool, the ballistic release tool, system level design to use the IS-2 top fire detonator as well. So the same detonators you've been seeing. An engineer with our long history of TCP tools. So it's kind of got a very strong base on the design side. Finally, we do have a DS microset setting tool. System level design as well to go with the DynaStage product line, and features our IS-2 IG igniter, a push-in igniter. So again, no wires, same kind of reliable contact and performance of the entire system.
Thank you for that. It sounds like we've got a lot of great products coming this year. So we've got a couple questions that have come in through chat, so we're going to transition to those. Our first question is, what is the maximum amount of guns in one string that can be shot with DynaStage at the moment?
We have shot upwards of, depending upon the system, anywhere from 32 to upwards of 43 guns, including a setting tool on one system in one run.
Okay. So our next question, this person is interested in where these components are coming from. Are they internal? Are they external?
It's a little bit of both. Most of the components do come internal. We do our own manufacturing of our subs, the carriers, the detonator, the charges. The plastics, we utilize a certified facility for some of the plastics, but all the critical components, including the detonating cord, all the critical explosive components are in-house manufactured either in the US here or in Germany, a facility in outside of Frankfurt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the next question, this is about the inline system. So is the inline system currently commercially available? And if so, can you talk about how it orients?
Yes, it is currently commercially available. We look forward to furthering that conversation. The orientating itself works is more along the lines of like a swivel almost. The two components interlock each other, and they're sort of mechanically held with a large retaining nut, if you will. And then the orientation is achieved and locked through large set screws. So what's important about that is we're not relying on the weight, I should say the integrity of the set screws to hold the weight of the gun string. It is mechanically held inside the sub itself, and only the orientation is held by the set screws. So we've had multitude of over the past couple of months runs downhole with the orientating system. Been very successful for us.
Mm-hmm. Our next question from chat is, what benefits does single plane perforating provide regarding formation breakdown pressure and fracture geometry?
We are currently putting together the data and information on outperformance of our system. We have seen upwards of 25% reduction in perforating pressure. Then in some of the ideal cases through a shell paper. Our system is still putting together some of the information, the data, to validate the different areas that we've shot the system in. But we would be very encouraged to have more opportunities to show just how well single plane perforating does compare and is able to reduce perforating pressure on location.
Mm-hmm. Our next question is asking about Deus Trinity. So what are the advantages of using fracture optimized charges that come standard with Deus Trinity?
So Deus Trinity comes with our FracTune charge, equal entry hole charge. So the biggest advantage is the equal entry hole nature of the performance. We are right now at less than, I believe, 4.3% standard deviation in some of our FracTune performance line. We have actually correlated from our DP30, DP45, and DP50 to have an incredible consistency in that standard deviation from product line and from charge to charge. And so it kind of showcases a bit our quality of manufacturing. But the equal entry hole is a very strong topic right now. And all of our products, the Inline, the Echo, the Trinity, all these systems feature the equal entry hole capability.
I think we have just enough time for one more question. And this is asking about the difference between Deus Infinity and Deus Trinity. What is the difference between those systems other than the length?
The Infinity comes with traditional spiraling and traditional phasing, 3120, 490, 660. They're spaced roughly 2 inches apart. In the Trinity system, they are 3 charges back to back in one single plane. So while it is a 3-120, if you will, 3 shots at 120 phasing, they all sit behind each other. There's no det cord in that system, so allowing the entire system to be shorter. And the detonator itself initiates the charges. So those are some of the bigger differences.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So I think we are about out of time for today, so I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Gernot, for your time today, and thank you everyone for attending and for all of the great questions. Apologies if we did not get to your question. If we did not have a chance to answer it live today, we will be following up with you by email later today or tomorrow. So if you do have any other questions, please submit them to either of the email addresses that you see on your screen, and we will be sure to follow up with you. I just want to, again, thank you all for attending. We look forward to having you join our next webinar. Stay tuned because details for our June webinar will be coming out soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Misha.
Thank you.